All right, so we are looking at evaluating expressions. And evaluate, it's not writing very well, is it? Evaluate is just saying you have some kind of expression and there's letters in there, there's variables in there. And they're going to give you the values for those variables, and you need to figure out what it is when you plug them in. So let's say off to the side, I tell you that B is 12 and A is 4. When you evaluate, I want to see that you use parentheses. In fact, let me change my expression a little bit. I'm going to put a 2 here. So if you haven't done it yet, you should be writing this down in your notes. So you should have 2b plus 10 minus a written down. And then off to the side, you have b equals 12, a equals 4. And what I want to happen is whenever you have a variable, now the next time you write it, I want you to make a bubble and leave it empty. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to write the 2. Now, according to my expression, it's 2 times b. So to show that I'm going to multiply it by a number, I'm going to put parentheses here. Plus 10 minus, and then a, I'm going to put parentheses there. And now I put in what they're worth. So b is worth 12, so I'm going to put a 12 here. And a is worth 4, so I'm going to put a 4 here. So I always want to see these parentheses when you work. Okay, so I'm going to be coming around, I'll be looking, and I'll be looking for parentheses that you have wherever you had a variable and you replaced it. Then it's just a matter of doing the math, so you have to follow your order of operations. So 2 times 12 is 24. Oh my goodness, it's not writing well. Plus 10 minus 4, and then we add and subtract from left to right. So 24 plus 10, that's 34, minus 4. And we get 30. Okay, so this is what you do to evaluate expressions. Make sure you use parentheses. The other thing I want to mention is you're going to have a problem talking about interest. And so interest is talking about like if you have an account and you're putting money in there and you're saving money or you borrowed money and this thing called interest is added on. And basically it's a way to make money off of whatever's going on. And so there's a formula that you need to be able to use. It's I equals PRT. So write this down in your notes because you're going to need it for your problem. Okay. So these letters all mean something. This is a formula. And when you have a formula, the letters mean something. So the I is your interest. So this is how much is going to be added on. Okay, maybe at the end of the year, the person gets an extra $2. So that's what would show up there is the interest amount that's added on. P is the principal. And this is really the original amount of the account. So if you put $500 into a savings account, you'd put $500 in for P. Or if you borrowed $1,000, you'd put $1,000 in for P. R is the rate. So they'll use a big long word called annual interest rate is a lot of times what you're going to see, or you just see rate. And it's going to be told to you in a percent, but you need to change that to a decimal when you use it in your equation, because to be honest, you just don't use percents in equations and in math. You change it to a decimal first. So, for example, if they tell you that it's a 2.5% interest, so the decimal's here, you need to make that into a decimal, which it already looks like it's a decimal, but it's actually in percent form. And so we need to move it over 2 places, so we get 0 to 5. All right, again, this is for your notes, so make sure you're writing it down. And then we have T, and T is time. But it's really important that you know that it's time in years. So usually they'll tell you in years, 2 years later, and you put a 2 in for T. But sometimes they'll tell you 6 months, and so then you need to put a 0.5 in for T. And so now it's just a matter of plugging in for what you know, and then figuring out what they want you to figure out.